The email landed at 10:04 p.m. I was standing in the grand hall of my villa in Tuscany, looking at a mountain of white roses. My wedding planner Maria was talking about lighting, but I wasn't listening. My phone lit up. It was from my mom. It wasn't a congratulations or I love you. It was an announcement. Family-wide email. It said, "Just letting everyone know, we will all be attending Marco's wedding on the 18th. My wedding was on the 18th. My brother Marco had just scheduled his wedding on the exact same day as mine. And my whole family just chose. They chose him." I scrolled to the bottom of the email, my thumb shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Maria was still talking about gardenias, but her voice sounded like it was underwater. I was looking for my name. It was there right at the end. Little note just for me. P.S. Elena, honey, we know you'll understand. Your brother Marco well, he just needs us more right in this moment. We'll celebrate with you later. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I wasn't just unchosen. I was an afterthought. They didn't even ask me to move my date. They just assumed I would disappear. Maria finally noticed I was gone. "Elena, are you okay? You look like you just saw a ghost." I looked up from the phone, and the smell of the roses was suddenly making me sick. I smiled, but it felt like my face was cracking. "I'm fine," I said. My voice was a whisper. I turned away, opened my messages, and typed 2 words back to my mother. "I understand." Then I turned back to my wedding planner, my voice suddenly very clear. "Maria," I said, "we need a new guest list. Delete my family. All of them. Every single one." Maria's jaw dropped, but she saw the look in my eyes. She just nodded. The next 3 weeks were a blur. But a month later my phone was blowing up again. This time it wasn't a quiet email. It was 30 missed calls. Marco. Even my aunts. They weren't calling to say congratulations. They were calling because they had just seen the cover of Vogue Italia. They had seen the pictures of my $10 million villa. They had seen the helicopters, the dress, the headlines. And they were furious. Why were they so mad? You'd think they'd be happy to be off the hook. Oh, you have no idea what's coming. What I did next wasn't just a wedding. It was a message. And if you stay with me until the end of this story, I promise to show you exactly how I gave my family the one thing they never gave me. A choice. It's a wild ride, so subscribe right now and don't miss a single part. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I want to know who is here with me. They kept calling one after another. A storm of angry, buzzing notifications. My father, who hadn't called me first in 10 years, left a voicemail that just said, "Elena, you have embarrassed this family. You made us look like fools. Call me now." They were angry I had my wedding without them. They were angry the whole world saw it. But before I tell you what I finally said when I picked up the phone, you need to understand why I didn't answer for 3 whole days. To understand that, you have to understand Marco. My brother. The golden boy. You see, in my family there were 2 children but only 1 star. Marco was the sun. Everything and everyone turned around him. He was the one who was sensitive. He was the one who had so much potential. I was just Elena. I was the one who was fine. I was strong. I was independent. That's what they called me. But independent is just a polite word for alone. They didn't see me as their daughter. They saw me as a rock. You don't have to water a rock, right? You just expect it to be there. Marco could crash a car and my parents would say, "He's just finding himself. He's under so much pressure." I could graduate from university with top honors, and my mom would say, "That's nice, dear. Did you remember to call your brother? He's feeling a little down." They spent their whole lives protecting him from life, and teaching me to expect nothing from it. They taught me that his failures were emergencies, but my victories were inconvenient. That email wasn't the first time they chose him. It was just the last time they would ever get the chance. So while they were busy managing Marco's feelings, I was busy building. I built a company from nothing, fueled by every, "That's nice, dear." I built a life they never bothered to ask about. And then I bought this villa. A 500-year-old ruin on a hill in Tuscany. It was broken. It was forgotten. It was perfect. I spent 5 years and $10 million of my own money, putting every stone back in place. I wasn't just building a house. I was building a fortress. A place they couldn't touch. A place they didn't even know I had. So when my mother sent that email telling me Marco needed them more, she had no idea who she was talking to. She had no idea where I was. She thought I was still that quiet girl who would just say, "I understand," and disappear. She thought I would just postpone my life again for him. She thought I would be sitting at home, alone, crying in my apartment. Oh, I cried. But I wasn't alone. And I wasn't canceling. I was upgrading. And my family had just given me the perfect, terrible, beautiful idea. So why did I let those calls go to voicemail? Why did I sit by the pool at my villa, sipping lemonade, watching my father's name flash on the screen over and over? It's because I was finally free. And to understand that, you have to understand what it was like to grow up as my brother's shadow. In my family's story, my brother Marco was the sun. He was the hero. He was the one everything turned around. And I was just the moon. I was only there to reflect his light. Or worse, I was the rock. The responsible one. The one who was just there. Marco wasn't just the golden boy. He was the golden problem. Everything he did was a big, loud drama. If he got a C on a test, it was a family crisis. My parents would have meetings, hire tutors, and blame the teacher. They would say he had so much potential and was just misunderstood. Potential was the magic word they used to excuse everything. It meant he didn't have to actually do anything. He just had to be. But me. I was capable. That was my word. Oh, Elena's fine. She's so capable. That just meant I was on my own. I remember when I was 16. I spent 6 months in the garage teaching myself to code, building a robot from scratch. I won the national robotics competition. I'm talking about a huge, shiny trophy and a $5,000 scholarship. I came home, bursting with pride, holding this thing that was half as tall as I was. I walked into the kitchen and my mom. She didn't even look up. She just put her finger to her lips. "Shoo, honey, not now," she whispered. "Your brother is upstairs. He's very stressed about his finals. He thinks he might be failing." My heart just sank. I stood there in the middle of the kitchen, holding this giant trophy. Suddenly felt stupid. Felt heavy. I put it down on the counter, and it made a loud thunk. My mom winced. "Elena, please. Go put that in your room. We need to keep the house quiet for Marco." I didn't argue. I just picked it up and locked it in my closet behind my shoes. He failed his finals anyway. And my parents, they bought him a new car to cheer him up. My victory was an inconvenience. His failure was a tragedy that needed a prize. This is the pattern. This is why that Vogue article broke their brains. My whole life they turned down the volume on my success. And I had just turned on a giant speaker and blasted it for the whole world to hear. I made a noise so big they couldn't shoo me. But the trophy was just high school. The real test came in college. And this next part. This is the part that explains the $10 million villa. This is the part that explains why I didn't feel a single drop of guilt when I deleted their names from my guest list. I worked 3 jobs in college. I got a full scholarship. I graduated at the top of my class with a degree in engineering. For my graduation, my parents took me out to a pizza place, Marco's favorite. My dad slid an envelope across the sticky table. "We're so proud of you, Elena." Inside was a check for $1,000. I almost cried. I was so happy. Thought finally, they see me. I took that $1,000 and it was the seed money for the company I would one day build. I was so grateful. Until I came home 1 month later. I walked in the door and I could hear my parents in the kitchen. They were arguing. My mom was crying. My dad sounded angry. I thought, oh no, what did Marco do now? I was right. Marco, who had dropped out of college twice, had a brilliant new idea. He wanted to start a craft brewery. He had no business plan. He had no experience. He just had a feeling. And my parents? They were arguing over which savings account to pull $150,000 from, to co-sign the loan. $150,000. My $1,000 check felt like a slap in the face. My 4 years of straight A's and 3 jobs were worth $1,000. His feeling was worth $150,000. It wasn't cruelty. That's the part that hurts the most. It was worse. It was absence. They never hit me. They never called me names. They just forgot I was there. I was the strong one, so I didn't need help. I was the responsible one, so I didn't need comfort. They took all my strengths and used them as an excuse to leave me completely and utterly alone. That night, listening to them talk about Marco's brewery, which, spoiler alert, went bankrupt in less than a year, something inside me didn't just break. Set by concrete. I realized in that kitchen that I would never get a seat at their table. They would always give the last chair to Marco. So I stopped trying. I took my $1,000, I moved 5,000 miles away, and I started building. I decided if they wouldn't give me a seat, I would build my own table. I would build my own house. I would build my own world. So when my mom sent that email, the one telling me Marco needed them more, she had no idea who she was talking to. She thought I was still that 16-year-old girl who would hide her trophy in the closet. She didn't know I was sitting in a $10 million villa that I built. She didn't know about the Vogue article. And she really had no idea about the one person I invited to my wedding instead of them. This guest. This is the real reason they were panicking. It wasn't just the article. It was who the article showed was sitting in the front row. So what was this $10 million weapon? This villa. My family thought I was living in a small apartment in Milan. They thought I had a nice little job. They had no idea. I bought this place 5 years ago. And when I found it, it wasn't a palace. It was a ruin. It was 500 years old, with crumbling stone walls, no roof, and huge vines pulling the walls into the dirt. It was broken. It was forgotten. And the second I saw it, I knew. It was me. It was mine. The man who sold it to me thought I was crazy. He kept shaking his head, saying, "Signora, this is not a house. This is a pile of rocks. It will cost a fortune to fix." I just smiled at him and said, "It's okay. I'm good at fixing things." I bought it that day. For 5 straight years I poured every dollar I earned, and every second I wasn't working, into this place. I didn't just hire people. I was here. I learned from the local builders. I helped them mix the concrete. I learned how to lay stone. I designed every room. I wasn't just restoring a house. I was building my armor. While my brother Marco was taking my parents' $150,000 and, as I heard later, spending most of it on a fancy car and a trip to Ibiza before his brewery failed, I was building my real company. That $1,000 check they gave me for graduating, I used it to register my business. My company builds navigation systems for medical drones. We fly medicine to people in villages that cars can't reach. It's not a nice little job. It's a company that saves lives. And yes, it made me very, very rich. So when my family saw that Vogue article, they didn't just see a wedding. They saw this fortress, this $10 million statement of success, sitting on top of a Tuscan hill, a life they had no part in, a life they didn't even know existed. They finally realized that the quiet, capable girl they ignored hadn't just built a life. She had built a kingdom. But it wasn't the house that made them panic. It was the guest list. It was who I gave their seats to. And that one special guest in the front row. When I deleted my family's 50 names, I had 50 empty seats. I didn't leave them empty for a second. I started making calls. I called Sarah, my college roommate, the one who shared her instant noodles with me for 6 months when I was starting my company and hadn't paid myself $1. I called Mr. Henderson, my first boss, the old man who co-signed the lease for my first tiny office when I had nothing but an idea. I called my first 3 employees, the ones who took a massive pay cut for a whole year, just because they believed in me. I invited the old woman, Sophia, who runs the vineyard next to my villa. She brought me soup every day for a week when I had the flu, and she taught me how to speak Italian. I invited every person who had ever shown up for me. Every person who had ever believed in me. This wasn't a guest list. It was my real family. The family I chose. The family I built. Every single person at that wedding had earned their seat. They deserved a $1,000 plate dinner. My blood relatives. They hadn't even earned a phone call. But the front row. That was the most special. And the man sitting in the seat that should have been my father's. My family knew exactly who he was. He wasn't a famous actor. He wasn't a politician. His name was Alessandro. And he was the reason my father was leaving voicemails that sounded less angry and more terrified. You see, my father had been begging me to meet this man for years. And I always said no. Alessandro isn't just my neighbor. He's Alessandro Gallo. Maybe the most powerful, most respected, and richest investor in all of Europe. He's a legend in the tech world. My father, who always dreamed of being a big shot, but never was, worshipped him. He was always trying to get a meeting with Alessandro, trying to get him to invest in his little company. He would always say, "Elena, you're in tech. If you ever hear of a way to meet Gallo, you have to tell me." He had no idea. My father had no idea that Alessandro was the mentor who found me when I was just starting. He was the one who invested in my company when it was just me and a laptop. He was the one who taught me how to be a CEO. He was the one who believed in me when my own father was too busy bailing out Marco. Alessandro wasn't just a guest at my wedding. He was the man who, in my vows, I called the father I chose. And in the Vogue article, the main photo wasn't of me and my new husband. It was of Alessandro, walking me down the aisle. So, when my father saw that magazine, he didn't just see a wedding. He saw his seat, his honor, given to the one man he idolized. He saw that his rock, the daughter he ignored, was the key to the one thing he wanted most in the world. And he had just thrown her away. For Marco, the phone calls weren't just angry anymore. They were desperate. They were the calls of a man who just realized he made the biggest mistake of his life. And when I finally picked up that phone, you are not going to believe the first thing he said to me. I let the phone ring 1, 2, 3 more times. The sound echoed across the stone terrace. My new husband, David, put his hand on my shoulder. I just looked at him, took a deep breath, and hit the green button. I put it on speakerphone. Elena. My father's voice was strange. It wasn't angry, not yet. It was shaky. Elena, honey. Hey. I saw the Vogue article. Is that the Alessandro Gallo? In your pictures? That was his first question. Not congratulations. Not why didn't you invite us? He saw the pictures of the wedding he chose to miss, and his first thought was about a famous billionaire. A cold, tired feeling washed over me. Yes, Dad. It is. The line went silent for a second. I could hear him breathing, fast and shallow. You know him, he stammered. Like, you really know him. Elena, you know how long I've tried to get a meeting with him. Why didn't you tell me? I just stared at the cypress trees across the valley. He still didn't get it. He was looking at my wedding and seeing a missed business opportunity. He wasn't sad he missed my day. He was mad he missed his chance. Suddenly his voice changed. The confusion turned back into anger. It's always easier for him to be angry than to be embarrassed. You did this to shame us, didn't you? He yelled, his voice cracking. You held this celebrity wedding and you invited him just to make us look small. To make me look like a fool. I didn't say anything. I just let him yell. He was furious that I hadn't let him use me. He couldn't imagine any other reason for me to know Alessandro. He couldn't imagine that Alessandro might just like me. I heard shuffling and my mother grabbed the phone. Elena, what is wrong with you? Your father is devastated, she screamed. Her voice was pure acid. We saw the article. You told Vogue you had the father you chose. What does that make us? You have humiliated this entire family. Finally spoke. My voice was quiet, but the speakerphone made it sound as loud as her anger. I didn't humiliate you, Mom. I just told the truth. I had a wedding. I invited people who wanted to be there. You had a choice. You chose Marco. Stop it, she shrieked. You know your brother. He's sensitive. He needed us. His bride's family was there. We had to be there. You're strong. You've always been strong. You have all this. I could hear her waving her hand, probably at a picture of my villa. You didn't need us. He did. And there it was. The exact reason I was sitting in my villa. My strength was just an excuse to leave me. If you've ever felt this, if you've ever been the strong one, hit that subscribe button right now because you know this feeling. It's the loneliest feeling in the world. I have a question, Mom, I said, my voice still calm. Just one. The line went quiet. Why didn't you just ask me to move my date? Yes. Before you sent that email to the whole family. Before you just chose. Why didn't you call me just once and ask? I heard her breathe in. She didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, she didn't even think about me. My wedding, my life, my feelings. They weren't even a speed bump for her. I wasn't a person. I was a plan that could be moved. We didn't think it mattered, she finally sputtered. It was just a ceremony. You could have gotten married any time. And now you've ruined everything. Alessandro Gallo. He'll think we're terrible parents. I almost laughed. He already knows, Mom. That shut her up. But before I could say anything else, my husband, David, walked over. He gently took the phone from the table. He'd been standing there listening to the whole thing. And he had heard enough. His voice is deep and calm, and he does not play games. Judy, he said, using my mother's first name, which I knew she hated. Judy, this is David. I'm going to say this once. You have had 30 years to show up for your daughter. You have had 30 years to see her, to celebrate her, and to choose her. You never did. You chose to go to Marco's wedding. You made your choice. And now Elena is making hers. She's choosing us. She is choosing the people who do show up. And about Alessandro, David continued, his voice dropping to that ice-cold tone he uses in the boardroom. He thinks you're terrible parents because Elena told him you are. He knows everything. He has for 10 years. I heard a gasp on the other end of the line. So no, David said. Elena didn't use him to humiliate you. She used him as a father when her own was too busy bailing out his son. He paused. We are going on our honeymoon now. Do not call this number again. You have been removed. And then, he hung up. Silence. My new husband looked at me, his eyes soft. It's done, he said. He nodded. Felt light. Felt free. I should have been happy. But as I looked at my phone, I saw a new text message. It wasn't from my parents. It wasn't from an angry aunt. It was from a number I hadn't seen in 10 years. It was from Marco, the golden boy himself. And all the text said was, you don't know what you just did. You have no idea what's coming. My husband, David, took the phone from my hand after he hung up on my mother. I was free. But then my screen lit up again. That new message. From Marco. I stared at the words. You don't know what you just did. You have no idea what's coming. My blood went from warm and free to ice cold in a second. David saw my face change. What is it, Elena? He asked, his voice full of concern. I showed him the screen. He frowned. It's a threat, he said, his jaw tightening. No, I whispered, but I wasn't sure. It's different. Doesn't feel angry. Feels, I don't know. It feels like a warning. We tried to forget it. We really did. We got on a plane and flew to the most beautiful remote beach in Greece for our honeymoon. No phones, no email. Just us, the blue water and white sand. For 7 days it was perfect. I let myself believe it was all over. I let myself believe that my family was in the past, a closed door. I thought hanging up on them was the end of the story. I was so wrong. It wasn't the end. It was the real beginning. 'Cause you see, a cornered animal is the most dangerous. And I had just backed my entire family into a corner. On our last night we were eating dinner on the beach. My phone, which I'd left in the hotel room, was supposed to be off. But I heard it. Faint buzz. 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 From the nightstand. I tried to ignore it. But it just kept going. Just let it ring, David said, holding my hand. But it wasn't a normal buzz. It was a work call. The special ringtone I use for my CFO, Jessica. Jessica knew I was on my honeymoon. She would only call if the building was literally on fire. My heart hammered in my chest. I ran inside and grabbed the phone. Jessica, what's wrong? I said, my voice shaking. Her voice came through the phone, frantic and cracking. Elena. Oh my God, Elena, you need to come back. Now. I felt the blood drain from my face. What happened? David was right behind me. It's a leak, Jessica sobbed. A massive one. Project Lyra. It's everywhere. The whole thing. All our research, all our new code, our launch plans. It's all been posted online. I almost dropped the phone. Project Lyra. That was my company's entire future. It was a secret worth billions. Only 5 people in the world knew the full details. Me, David, Alessandro, and my 2 lead engineers. Who did it? I whispered, my mouth dry. We don't know, Jessica said. It just appeared. But Elena. It's worse than that. It's not just the project data. It's your personal emails too. What personal emails? What are you talking about? I demanded. They're old, she said. From years ago. Before you even started this company. It looks bad, Elena. It looks really, really bad. We were on a plane within an hour. My honeymoon was over. The 18-hour flight back was silent. David was on his laptop, making calls, trying to stop the bleeding. I just sat there, staring at the clouds, my mind racing. Ooh. Who would do this? Who hated me enough to try and destroy not just my wedding but my life? My company. It had to be an inside job. One of my engineers. Oh. I trusted them with my life. And who? And what emails? What could be so bad? As soon as we landed, my phone exploded with alerts. The leak wasn't just on some hidden website. It was on the front page of a major tech journal. The headline was devastating. Did tech's golden girl steal her empire? They had my emails. Emails from 10 years ago, when I was working for my first boss, Mr. Henderson. The kind old man who I invited to my wedding. The leak twisted my words, made it look like I was complaining about him, made it look like I was planning to steal his ideas. 'Twas a lie. A sick, twisted, horrible lie. Mr. Henderson was my first investor. He gave me the seed money. But that's not what the article said. The article said I betrayed my mentor. The same mentor I had just publicly honored at my wedding. Made me look like a monster. Fake. Thief. My reputation, the one I had built for 15 years, was being torn apart line by line on the internet. My hands were shaking. This wasn't a random hack. This was a hit. This was planned. This was personal. Then I saw it. The other part of the story. The source. The article said the emails were provided by a concerned family member, who could no longer stay silent about Elena's history of betraying those closest to her. My family. This wasn't a stranger. This wasn't a business rival. This was my father. Or my mother. They couldn't stand seeing me win. If they couldn't be at my table, they were going to flip the whole table over. I was standing in the airport, my world collapsing. David was trying to get our bags and I was just frozen. And then my phone buzzed. I thought it was another hate-filled message from a stranger on the internet. But it wasn't. It was Marco. Just one line. I told you. I tried to warn you. It wasn't me. It was Dad. He found your old laptop. You need to call me. I'm the only one who can help you now. I just stood there in the middle of the airport. David was grabbing our bags, but I couldn't move. My knees felt like water. I read the text from my brother Marco again. It wasn't me. It was Dad. He found your old laptop. My father. The anger was so hot and so fast I thought I was going to be sick. He did this. He didn't just choose to miss my wedding. He chose to destroy my life. He saw my success, saw that Vogue article, and decided if he couldn't have a piece of it, he would burn the whole thing to the ground. And the laptop. He found your old laptop. A cold memory washed over me. My old heavy, slow college laptop. The one I left in my childhood bedroom when I moved 5,000 miles away. I thought my mom threw it out years ago. But he must have kept it. He must have gone into my old room, dug through my old things and found it. He didn't hack me. He stole my past. He read my private emails from 10 years ago and twisted them into a weapon. This wasn't a random attack. This was planned. David finally got to me. Elena, we have to go. The car is here. He saw my face and his own went pale. What is it? I just showed him the text from Marco. His eyes went from my brother's words to my face. He's lying, David said, his voice hard. It's a trick. They're both in on it. I don't think so, I whispered. I don't know what this is. But we have to get to the office. Now. The car ride was silent. We raced through the dark city. It was 3 a.m. in the morning, but my office building was lit up like a Christmas tree. Jessica, my CFO, met us at the elevator. Her eyes were red and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. It's a bloodbath, Elena, she said, her voice shaking. The investors are panicking. The board is calling an emergency meeting. They think the article is true. What? He yelled. How can they? It's a lie. It doesn't matter, she said, holding back tears. Project Lyra is all over the internet. Our stock is going to be worthless by morning. Elena. There's someone waiting for you in the boardroom. He's been here for hours. My heart stopped. I knew before she even said it. I walked past her, down the long dark hallway to the glass boardroom. And there he was. Mr. Henderson. The kind old man who co-signed my first lease. The man I called the father I chose. The man who sat in the front row at my wedding. He was sitting at the head of the table, holding a printed copy of the article. He looked small, and so disappointed. Elena, he said, and his voice was the sound of my heart breaking. Please. Just. Tell me this isn't true. It's not, I said, sinking into the chair across from him. My voice was breaking. He gave me the seed money. He was my first investor. You know that, Mr. Henderson. You were that investor. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for what felt like forever. I know, child, he finally said, his voice full of a terrible sadness. I know what I did. I'm not here because I believe them. I'm here because I'm on your board. And the board, they're scared. They're going to fire you. Fire me. From my company. The one I built from that $1,000 check. They can't, I whispered. I own 51% of the stock. It's not about that, Mr. Henderson said, shaking his head. There's a rule in your CEO contract. It says you can't make the company look bad. They're saying this article does exactly that. They're saying you're a risk. They have called a meeting for 9 a.m. That's in 6 hours. They are going to vote to remove you. I was going to lose everything. My life's work. My company. Name. All because my father was angry he missed a party. I just sat there frozen. David came in and started arguing, making calls, but it all sounded like noise. I was back in that kitchen, 16 years old, holding a trophy that no one wanted. I was going to be erased. All my success, all my work. For nothing. My father had finally found a way to make me small again. My phone, which I'd thrown on the table, buzzed again. Another text from Marco. Call me. He is going to ruin you. I am the only one who can help you. Now. David saw the text. Don't, he said. Elena, he's a snake. He's part of it. Is he? Said my voice empty. Or is he the only person who knows what's happening in that house? I looked at Mr. Henderson. I looked at David. I looked at the clock. 3:15 a.m. I had less than 6 hours. I was cornered. I had no other move. I had to trust the last person on earth I ever wanted to. I had to trust the golden boy. Picked up the phone. I hit call. He picked up on the first ring. Took you long enough, he whispered. His voice was different. Not lazy. Not spoiled. It was fast and scared and sharp. You have to listen to me, he said, talking fast like he was hiding in a closet. Dad did it. He's in the other room drinking, bragging about it. He's proud. But you have no idea why he did it. It was the wedding, I whispered. The Vogue article. No. Marco cut me off. It's not about the wedding. It's not about Alessandro. It's about the brewery. That old $150,000 loan. He's in deep, Elena. He's in trouble. And he's not done. He's not just trying to shame you. He's trying to destroy you. Unless you do exactly what I say. I stood in the glass boardroom, the phone on the table. My husband, David, and my mentor, Mr. Henderson, were looking at me. They were waiting. My world had shrunk to the size of that little speaker. What are you talking about, Marco? I demanded, my voice sounding hollow. What trouble? His voice was a fast, scared whisper, like he was hiding in a closet. He's going to jail, Elena. That's what I'm talking about. The $150,000. It wasn't a bank loan. Not all of it. Not really. David's head snapped up. Spit it out, Marco, he said, his voice hard as stone. There was a shaky breath on the other end of the line. He stole it, Marco whispered. Dad. He stole it from his own company. Where he works. He embezzled it. For me. For the stupid brewery. And they just started an audit. They're going to find it, Elena. He's going to prison. Like this week. Fell back into my chair. Mr. Henderson let out a long, low groan. My father. Thief. He stole money. For Marco. My mind was blank. So what? Finally whispered. He's ruining me. Why? How does this help him? Because he's desperate. Marco was almost crying now. Don't you get it? He needs money. He needs to pay back the $150,000 before the auditors find the hole. He's been trying to get it for weeks. And he thinks, oh God, Elena. He thinks you're the key. That leak. That wasn't just to shame you. That was a sample. An advertisement. My blood went cold. A sample. I said, my voice barely human. David and I locked eyes. He understood it the same second I did. A sample. For who, Marco? He's been talking to Titan Dynamics, Marco whispered. My stomach dropped through the floor. Titan Dynamics. My biggest, meanest, most ruthless competitor. The one company that would do anything to get Project Lyra. He leaked it to them? Yes, Marco said. And he has more. The laptop. Your old college laptop. It has all your old research. Your real notebooks before Project Lyra. He's meeting them tomorrow. He's going to sell them the rest. For $5 million. I couldn't breathe. My father wasn't just angry. He was using me. He was selling my life's work to my worst enemy to save his own skin. He's destroying me. To pay back money he stole. For you, I said, the words tasting like poison in my mouth. Yes, Marco cried. I know. I know it's messed up. But I'm trying to help you. Why? David barked into the phone. Why would you help her now? Is this a trap? Because he's crazy. Marco screamed, and I heard a crash on his end. He's not just dad anymore. It's different. He's desperate. And he told them I helped. He told Titan that I got the data. He's trying to pin this on me if it goes bad. He's trying to save himself, and he's going to throw us both in the fire, Elena. Me. He doesn't care anymore. He just wants to not go to jail. So there it was. The golden boy was finally scared. His father, the man who protected him his whole life, was now using him as a shield. What's the plan, Marco? I asked, my voice suddenly dead and cold. I looked at the clock. 3:20 a.m. What do I do? You can't go to that board meeting, he said, talking fast. The 9 a.m. meeting. They're going to fire you. And if they fire you, you lose control. That's the whole plan. Titan Dynamics. They're part of the meeting. They're going to offer to buy the company. For pennies. They'll say they're rescuing it from the scandal. The scandal they're paying our father for. My head was spinning. This was a coup. Complete corporate takeover. So what do I do, Marco? He yelled. I have less than 6 hours. 5 now, he said. You have to stop him. You have to get that laptop back. He's meeting the Titan executive tomorrow, but he's meeting someone tonight. A go-between. To show them the rest of the files. He has the laptop with him. Right now. He's at the old brewery. The one that failed. He's there now. The old brewery. The grave of my brother's potential. The place my father sank $150,000 into. He's there. Right now. With the rest of my life on a computer. You have to go there, Marco whispered, and his voice was terrified. You're the only one he won't expect. I'll create a distraction. I'll call Mom and tell her. I don't know that I'm sick. I'll get them both out of the house so he can't go back for it. You have maybe 1 hour. Go now, Elena. It's the only way. Or we both lose everything. For real. He hung up. I stared at the phone. The boardroom was silent. It's a trap, David said, grabbing his keys. I don't care. I'm going. No, I said, standing up. My legs were shaking, but I stood. It's a trap. Or it's the truth. Or it's both. But I'm the one he won't expect. He's right. I looked at David. I'm not going to let him win. I'm not going to lose my company. I started walking. I was going to the brewery. I was going to face my father. I was going to get my life back. The drive was 5 minutes, but it felt like 5 years. David's hands were white on the steering wheel. His knuckles standing out. Elena, this is insane, he said, his voice a low growl. We call the police. We go to the board. We don't walk into a dark building to confront a desperate man. I just shook my head, my mind cold and quiet. The police don't have the laptop, I said. The board is part of the trap. This is family. And I have to end it. It was 3:30 in the morning. I had 5.5 hours to save my life. We got there. The brewery was a rotting 2-story metal shed in a dead industrial park. The sign was still there, half-hanging. Marco's Golden Alesh. A monument to my father's bad decisions. Park here, I whispered to David a block away. He's right. They won't expect me. I grabbed David's hand. This is my fight, David. But if I am not back out in 15 minutes. You call everyone. Police. Alessandro. Everyone. He looked like he was going to argue, but he just nodded. His eyes full of fear. I slipped out of the car and ran, low and fast, across the cracked pavement. The air smelled like rust and old, sour grain. The side door was unlocked, just as Marco said. Pushed it open. It let out a long, slow scream that made my teeth hurt. Froze. I was inside. It was pitch black. Could hear voices. They were coming from the old back office, upstairs. I crept toward the sound, my hand on the rusty railing of the stairs, hiding in the shadows of the giant, silent metal tanks. I got to the top of the stairs and looked down the small, dirty hallway. The office door was open. A single, flickering light bulb lit up the room. And I heard him. My father. His voice was high and shaky. "I'm telling you, it's all here," he was saying. "It's the original research. The stuff before Lyra. It's her whole brain. It's worth 50 million, not 5. I heard another voice. A woman's. It was cold and sharp. "Titan Dynamics doesn't pay for family stories, Mr. Rossi," she said. "We pay for proof. Show me. Now." I peeked around the door frame. My heart stopped. My father. He looked small. He was holding my old silver laptop. The one with the robotics competition sticker I'd put on it when I was 16. He was hunched over it, protecting it. The woman was tall, in a perfect black suit. She looked like she belonged in a boardroom, not this dump. "See," my father said, opening it. The screen lit up his face. He looked like a ghoul. "It's all here. My daughter's entire." "No." My voice cut through the dusty air like a rock through a window. They both froze. The woman from Titan turned, annoyed, like she was swatting a fly. But my father. His face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was terror. Pure animal terror. The look of a rat caught in a trap. "Elena," he gasped. He slammed the laptop shut, holding it to his chest like a shield. "Elena, what are you? You shouldn't be here. Go home. This is father business." "This is my business," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "This is my life. And you are selling it." The woman in the suit just scoffed. "So this is the daughter. You've got guts, I'll give you that." She took a step toward my father. "Give me the laptop, Mr. Rossi." "You can't," I screamed. "That's stolen. It's mine." My father looked at me, his eyes wide and crazy. "I'm not stealing," he yelled. "I'm saving this family. I'm saving Marco. You have so much, Elena. You have that palace. What's one little laptop? You owe us. This is for the family." "I owe you nothing," I screamed back, and I was crying now, hot, angry tears. "I built that palace without you. I built my life despite you. You don't get to burn me down to keep him warm." The Titan woman sighed, bored. "This is pathetic. We're done." She looked past me toward the door. "Greg, get the laptop." Turned. I hadn't seen him. A huge man was standing in the shadows by the stairs. He looked like a refrigerator in a suit. He started walking toward me. My heart was going to explode. David was in the car. I was alone. I was going to lose. But just as the big man reached for me, the front door of the brewery slammed open with a huge crash. "Get away from her," a voice screamed. It was reedy and high and terrified. It was Marco. He was standing there, shaking from head to toe, holding a tire iron in his hands. He ran between me and the big man. You can't touch her," he stammered. The big man, Greg, just looked at him, confused. The woman looked angry. But my father looked betrayed. "Marco," he whispered. "What are you? You're supposed to be with your mother." I lied," Marco said, his voice cracking. He held up his phone with his other hand. I recorded you, Dad. I recorded your whole call with her. I've got it all. Plan. The audit. The embezzlement. Everything." And just as he said it, we all heard it. Sirens. Not one. A lot of them. Red and blue lights flashed through the brewery's broken windows. Marco looked at me, tears streaming down his face. I called the police, Elena. I think I just saved you. Or I just sent us all to jail." The sirens were deafening. Red and blue lights painted the whole stupid brewery in flashes of panic. Everybody froze. The big man, Greg, stopped. The Titan woman's face, which was so bored and angry, suddenly went completely white. She knew what this was. This wasn't a family fight anymore. This was a crime scene. She and Greg immediately put their hands up in the air. "I'm just a guest here," she said, her voice sharp. "I was just leaving." But it was too late. The side door burst open again. This time it wasn't Marco. It was two police officers, and right behind them was David. "Don't move," one of the officers yelled. My father, who was still holding my laptop, looked like a ghost. He just stood there, frozen. Marco, bless his stupid scared heart, held up his phone. His hand shaking so badly he almost dropped it. "He's the one," he shouted, and he pointed right at our father. "He's the one. He stole money from his company. He was trying to sell her laptop. It's her laptop," he pointed at me. I recorded him. I have the recording." My father didn't even look at the police. He didn't look at me. He looked at Marco. His face just caved in. It wasn't anger. It was a terrible, hollow surprise. "Marco," he whispered. It was the only word he said. You chose her." He couldn't believe it. After a whole lifetime of being the son, the golden boy had finally turned. He had chosen me. My father looked like the world had just ended. He had sacrificed my life to save Marco, and in the end, Marco was the one who handed him to the police. The police officer took the phone from Marco's shaking hand and put an earbud in. He listened for maybe 10 seconds. His whole face hardened. He looked at my father. "Sir, I need you to put the laptop on the ground." Slowly. My father just stood there, clutching it. "Sir," the cop yelled. David walked forward, and my father just handed it to him. He handed my whole life, my past, right to my husband. The cop nodded at his partner. "Put him in cuffs," he said. "You're under arrest for embezzlement and—" "What else is on this tape, son?" "Corporate espionage," Marco whispered. They clicked the handcuffs on. My father didn't fight. He didn't say a word. He just looked old. The Titan woman scoffed. "You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything. I was hearing a business proposal." The cop looked at her, his eyes cold. "Ma'am, on this recording you offer to buy stolen property. That's conspiracy. You're coming too." As they walked her out, she looked at me. Her eyes were pure hatred. "You just made the worst enemy of your life," she hissed. I just watched her go. I've had worse enemies. They took them all. My father, the woman, Greg, all in police cars. It was over in 5 minutes. As they put my father in the car, he finally looked at me. His eyes were empty. "You did this," he said. You were always so strong. You could have just let this go." He wasn't sorry. He was mad that I didn't let him ruin me. He was mad that I wasn't quiet. He was mad that I finally wasn't a rock. And then he was gone. David pulled me into his arms. I was shaking so hard I couldn't feel my legs. "It's over," he whispered. "He's gone." I looked back. Marco was sitting on the dirty steps of the brewery, his head in his hands, crying. The tire iron was on the ground next to him. He looked up at me, his face a mess of tears and snot. He stole from me, Elena. He ruined his whole life. For me. He wasn't the golden boy. He was just the anchor that had finally pulled our father to the bottom of the sea. David helped me into the car. "What about him?" I whispered, nodding at Marco. David's face was hard. "Get in the car, Marco," he said, not unkindly. Marco, silent, got into the back seat, curling up like a little kid. The clock on the dashboard read 5:15 a.m. We had a board meeting. David was driving fast. He looked at me. "Your father is handled," he said. "But the Titan lawyers are not. They're still at the office. They're still going to try and take your company. They don't know this just happened." We walked into the boardroom at 6 a.m. The sun was just starting to come up. The whole board was there. Mr. Henderson looked sick. And at the end of the table, 2 lawyers from Titan Dynamics were sitting there, smiling like sharks. "Ms. Rossi," one of them said, his voice smooth. "You're late. We're so sorry to hear about your situation. We have a very generous offer to buy the company and, rescue it from this terrible scandal." I just stared at him. I walked to the head of the table. Felt thump. David put my old silver 16-year-old laptop on the table. It made a loud, heavy thud. Then Marco, who had been hiding behind me, stepped forward. He put his phone on the table. "I think," I said, my voice clear and strong in the silent room, "that you all need to hear a recording." The Titan lawyer's smiles. They didn't just fade. They died. "The meeting to fire me is at 9 a.m., I said, looking at the clock. "That gives us 3 hours. Who wants to hear just how this scandal started?" The boardroom was dead silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The 2 Titan lawyers looked like they'd swallowed rocks. Their smug, shark-like smiles were gone. Their faces were pale. One of them was actually sweating. He was looking at Marco's phone like it was a bomb. Guess it was. I looked at Mr. Henderson, my old, kind mentor. "Well," I said, my voice echoing in the big, quiet room. "The meeting to fire me isn't for 3 hours. But since we're all here, who wants to press play?" The head Titan lawyer, a man who looked like his suit cost more than my first car, suddenly stood up. This is highly irregular. We don't have to listen to this. This meeting is a sham." He started packing his shiny leather briefcase. "Oh, you're right," David said, his voice dangerously calm. He stood up and walked very slowly to the boardroom door. He stood right in front of it. "The meeting is a sham. You planned it. But you're not leaving. You're going to sit. And you're going to listen." I nodded at Marco. He was shaking, but he did it. He pressed the button. And just like that, the whole ugly secret story filled the room. My father's voice. Shaky and desperate, offering to sell me. Offering to sell my brain. Then the Titan woman. The boss of these 2 lawyers. Her voice cool and sharp, agreeing to it. Planning the leak. Planning the board meeting. Planning how they would buy my company for almost nothing after they murdered my reputation. The recording played for 3 whole minutes. It was the longest 3 minutes of my life. When it finished. Silence. The board members, my board, the people who were going to fire me. They looked sick. They were looking at the 2 Titan lawyers like they were rats. Mr. Henderson, his face red with a quiet, burning anger, stood up. He was an old man, but he seemed 6 feet tall. "This rescue," he said, his voice booming, "was a heist. A planned criminal attack on this company. On my company." He pointed a shaking finger at the 2 lawyers. "Get out. You can't," one of them stammered. "We're just lawyers. Get out." Mr. Henderson roared. "Before I call the police and have you arrested with your boss, our lawyers will be in touch with your CEO. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to hear this recording." The 2 men scrambled, grabbing their things, and ran for the door. David stepped aside, and they practically fell out into the hallway. And then, they were gone. The sharks were gone. The room was quiet again. It was just me, my board, David, and Marco. One of the board members, a woman named Sarah, looked at me, her eyes full of tears. "Elena," she whispered. We were going to. We're so sorry. We had no idea." I just nodded. I was too tired to be angry at them. "I know," I said. "The leak is still real. Project Lyra is still out there. We have a lot of work to do. I wasn't the victim anymore. I wasn't the scandal. I was their CEO. And in their eyes I could see. They finally knew it." The meeting was over. It was 7 a.m. The sun was streaming through the windows. The board members all left, promising me their full 100% support. It was just us. Me, David, and Marco. Marco was still in the corner, crumpled up, looking like a little boy. He looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. "So, what happens now?" he whispered. What happens to me?" "I called the cops. I gave you the phone. But am I in trouble too?" I looked at him. The golden boy. The whole reason my father was in a police car. And the only reason I was still standing here. I had no idea what to say. "What do you say?" He was the cause of the storm. And he was the one who, at the very end, steered the ship to shore. My father. He went to jail. His trial was fast. The recording. It was everything. He was sentenced to 5 years. And my mother. Oh, this is the part that hurts. My mother. She hasn't spoken to me since. She didn't come to the trial. She blames me. She blames me for not being quiet. For not just letting my father ruin me. She said I should have been the strong one. And just taken it. And Marco. What happened to the golden boy? He wasn't golden anymore. He was just a man. A man who had to get a real job for the first time in his life. The last time I saw him, he was working in a coffee shop. He looked tired. But he also looked, I don't know, peaceful. He looked at me and said, "Thank you, Elena." And I think he finally meant it. Have you ever had to make a choice like that? Have you ever had to choose between your family and yourself? It's the hardest, most painful, and loneliest choice in the world. If you have ever felt invisible, if you've ever been the strong one who was just left alone, please hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel because your stories in the comments, they make me feel like I'm not alone. They make me feel seen. Please share this story with anyone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, you have to lose your whole family just to finally find yourself.